Today's topic is: what's a small decision you made that unexpectedly changed your life forever? I once missed my usual bus and took the next one, annoyed and half asleep. On that bus, I sat next to a woman who was sketching in a notebook. Curious, I glanced over and complimented her drawing. She smiled, and we talked. She turned out to be an illustrator working on a children's book. I told her I wrote short stories as a hobby. She asked to read one. 2 months later, we were co-writing a book together. A year later, it got picked up by a small publisher. And somehow, I became an author, because I missed a bus. Adopted a cat instead of waiting for a dog at the shelter. That cat turned out to be the most talkative creature ever, kept me up so many nights that I started writing to pass the time. 3 published novels later, I owe my writing career to that furball. My friend was supposed to pass by my house to pick me up to go out. He got a flat tire and he stopped to change it, so I was waiting him and decided to open the laptop to see what jobs are being posted lately online. It was 2015 and online job hunting was beginning to be a trend, at least in my country. I saw an interesting job to which I clicked apply. Needless to say, 10 years since then, I started working there, met my current wife there, now living abroad and having the best times of our lives. All of this happened because a tire got punctured. Applied for a job in a completely unrelated field that I wasn't really qualified for. When I finished uni, popped up as a promoted ad on a job seeker website, and I was really just looking to practice customizing my resume and cover letter. 6 months later, I was living in a completely different city, and 10 years on I still love it and wouldn't change a thing. The job: air traffic controller. I was renting out a bedroom in my house and had one person lined up for it. They were dicking me around and kept extending the time frame on when they would move in, and I kept holding it for them. One day I had enough and messaged someone else who had expressed interest when I first advertised the room. He is now my husband. Decided to give dating a single mom a chance. I was dead set against having a kid, or dating anyone who had a kid. Didn't want to be a father or a stepfather to anyone. Then I met someone who I really clicked with that had a 6-year-old daughter. She held off on introducing us until things got serious, and I, reluctantly, met this kid. Her bio dad skipped town the day she was born, and that was the worst decision he ever made. Long story short, 25 years later I walked her down the aisle at her wedding. Told my sister that I've moved on and asked her to look for someone for me. As a joke, didn't think anything would come of it. 2 years later, I'm getting married to the most amazing random dude that she bumped into at a party 2 weeks after I spoke with her. One day, I just decided to go for a run. Seriously. It was a boring Sunday. I was sitting in my pajamas scrolling through my feed, and out of nowhere, I thought, why not? I threw on some old sneakers, random sweatpants, put on some music, and headed to the nearest park. I ran super slow, got winded in like 5 minutes, nearly died on a bench catching my breath, but there was something about it. The air, the music, the quiet in my head for once. I started running every morning after that, at first just to feel better, but then because it became my thing. A few months later, I literally bumped into a guy at that same park who was also running. Now he's my husband. And because of running, I learned not to quit just because I wasn't perfect right away. I stopped thinking everything had to be all or nothing. I even changed careers later, got into something I'd always been too scared to try before. So yeah, one random run totally changed everything. In November 2020 I picked up some cookies on a Wednesday from a home baker, and on the way home, not a road I normally drive, only there for cookies, saw a huge dirt law with a sign for a new neighborhood coming soon. I reached out to a family friend in real estate to see what the homes would start at and if my situation would allow me to purchase. He ran numbers. I did online tours of the homes online, and on that Sunday I was signing a contract to buy my first home at 42 after 19 years of being a single mom. A year after I was living in my home and loving it just being me and my kids, my neighbors introduced me to a friend of theirs, and he and I have been together ever since. He moved in with us about 9 months ago. If I hadn't gotten those cookies, neither of these things would have happened. Decided at the last minute to go on a ski trip with my best friend of 8 years. We'd not had any feelings for each other, but both realized on that trip, oh, wait. This is what I want. We didn't act on the feelings, but came home and both eventually broke up with our respective partners. We've been together for 3 years now. Back in the early 2000s, I used to just browse the online journals that people would keep. One that I used to browse is Free Open Diary. They had a random journal button, and it would allow you to just read exactly that, random journals that weren't set to private. That's how I started a conversation that led to an online relationship with someone 900 miles away, which resulted in me moving there 3 years later. We are no longer together, but that whole arc of my life led me to where I am now, and it was the result of being constantly online and bored back in the day. I decided to take some automotive tech classes at the local community college in my area. I'd recently graduated with my bachelor's and had the idea to restore an old VW. With only a hobbyist's understanding of how to do so, I enrolled. I learned about the price break that employees of the community college received in classes and started looking at their job board. Before long, I was working at their help desk. It was full-time, so the class would have to wait. The assistant director of student life was a frequent customer. Then we started bumping into one another in the halls and getting into conversations about various geekly things. She was super cute. We've been together for 12 years now, and married for 8. I still know jack about cars. A small decision I made that made a big impact on my life is taking care of my mental and physical health more. This self-care made me more ready to face the challenges of life every day. Went to the doctor because I was having bladder pain, but I didn't think it was anything serious. Was given antibiotics for a UTI. Took the first dose, and started running a 104-degree fever and had really bad kidney pain. Went to the ER and they said I was septic and a couple hours away from going into septic shock and having permanent kidney damage due to having 3 kidney stones blocking my urethral tube and bladder. 2 surgeries later, I'm doing good. It's been about 7 months since my second surgery. I think about going to temple every single day. Meditation and chanting has absolutely made me positive inside out. I am firm, calm, and so happy inside out. Even if I have 10 rupees in my pocket or I have 10 lakh. Or anything. I am happy. I am content. I think this is what changed my life for good, absolutely. In college, I accidentally signed up for a Taekwondo class instead of Tai Chi. I figured, what the hell, may as well see what it's like. My black belt is not the best thing I took away from that decision. Thanks to that class, I met, and then married, my best friend. I decided one day to stop hiding and wear makeup to school, just simple eyeliner and lip tint. I thought no one would notice, but that small change made me feel more confident. I started speaking up more, making friends, and even joined a club. I used to feel invisible, but that one decision helped me start believing in myself. I decided to go on a walk with friends and met my husband in passing. He was mutual friends with someone in my group of friends and we were introduced. Also, related to my career, I was asked to speak at a non-profit fundraiser at 17 years old. At that time, I had no plans to continue my education after high school. But I was offered a scholarship to a university right after my speech. It forever changed my life. Now I'm a graduate student getting my MA in marriage and family therapy at the same school, even more, with zero debt. My friend asked me to please write down my vision I had for the story in my head. I was honored and started to write it down, unlike the other many times where I could not be bothered to write it down for myself. I am now about to publish the second book of the series and recently got asked for a restock by my local bookshop. While I am far from taxable income, it made my life feel more under control. So, in one way, said friend made me finally work on my lifelong daydream and a story I have worked on for almost 2 decades. Waking up early. It has helped my productivity so much. I realized I have more time to prioritize tasks and this helps me stay ahead. I decided to work out over winter break. I went running and slipped into a ditch and hurt my ankle. I was pressured to go back into physical training sooner than I was likely ready, and soon had to leave the military program I was training in. As a result, I changed my university, ended up changing my major, and now have a completely different life path. I randomly signed up for a free online course during lockdown, just to pass the time. I didn't think much of it, but it sparked an obsession I never saw coming. 2 years later, I completely changed careers, doing something I actually love. One click. Whole new path. I am an introvert. One Friday at work, I decided to join the newbies at lunch, odd choice for me. We got along all right and they invited me to a party that night. On a whim, I accepted. At the small party I met a guy from a different department in another building, someone I would never have encountered normally. He was going to be moving in a few months too. Distance didn't stop us and we've been together for nearly a decade now. Couple years ago a recruiter called me if I'm interested in a new role. I've decided to casually give it a shot and see how it will go. After couple of months postponing final decision from their end, they made a choice of giving me an offer. I was driving somewhere with my wife and didn't really care at that moment as that process was taking so long time, but they've called me so I was talking with them on the speaker. When it go into talking about money I had no chance to say my offer when they've said, "We can only offer you an hourly basis of XX." Where XX was almost 3x more than I was normally asking for, so I've just shut up and accepted the offer. I know it was a gold shot of a lifetime. It has enabled me to pay my flat mortgage, car lease, buy another car for my wife and start building my home. Unfortunately the project has ended already and it was difficult to speak about money for next gigs, and I was totally aware that my previous earnings are out of scope and probably won't ever be a demand that will pay me such salary again.